But I think the development of full artificial intelligence could spell the end of the human race.
It's a flying object, and we don't know what it is. I would hope somebody is checking it out.
It was a rocket or whatever, but incredibly fast, opposite direction. It was too fast to be an airplane.
I'm glad the Pentagon is looking at this, because if it poses a threat, I want them on top of it.
Well, the craft generates its own gravitational field.
You said there's lights in the sky?
The internet has become the command center for criminals and terrorists.
911, what's your emergency? I need help, please help me!
Aliens won't let it happen. You know, that's what we're instructed to say.
Roger, Area 51. Alien kept deep under the ground.
1, 0, 1, 1, 1, 0, 1, 1.
Doesn't have your best interest in mind. The government is self-serving. You're here for a reason. You're listening to Troubled Minds Radio. Broadcasting live from a secret bunker just off the extraterrestrial highway. Somewhere in the desert sands outside of Las Vegas. From somewhere in Spacetime, loosely labeled Generation X on planet Earth. And asking questions of you in earnest into the digital darkness.
Good evening and welcome to Troubled Minds Radio. Sorry about that, had to click the buttons just right. Don't have the board up, it's just me and my 18 tentacles. What's going on, guys? This is the show where we get together and talk about all the things we're not allowed to talk about. We do it Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, 7 p.m. Pacific time. What are those things we're not allowed to talk about? You know what they are. Aliens, conspiracy, the paranormal, the government, academia, the 24-hour news cycle, propaganda, and the general feeling that we live in the upside down. Got another doozy for you tonight. Make sure you have done your stretches as we get going, because we're going to put the mind through the ringer as we usually do, and we're talking about time tonight. Not just time as we understand it as humans. What about time as we possibly misunderstand it as humans? Does the past exist very much the same way the future exists? And as we're going to get to this a little bit later, but as Stephen Hawking has asked famously, if we can remember the past, how come we can't remember the future? Interesting stuff, and we'll talk about some of the reasons why that may be, and of course time travel. It's about time, all about time travel tonight, but not just that, the concept of time itself. So as we get going and do the rest of this, we do this to include you. This show is live, and we're taking your phone calls. We're here together to talk about this, to think about these things, and to consider that, well, maybe the world we live in, the reality we live in, isn't exactly as they explain, exactly as the textbooks describe, right? Because, of course, as with everything has limitations, but, of course, science has its limits. We only know so much and understand so many things. And in this case, in a particular case, this particular case, let's say consciousness, we barely even grasp the idea of it. how am I me and you're you, right? That's one of the most fundamental things of science. It's describing how people are different, but then they're the same, but they're different, but they're the same. So how does this work? There's a whole bunch of this that it just kind of doesn't make sense, right? The more you think about it, or maybe it does. But maybe we need some cosmic examples of how it does make sense. I don't know. So that's what we're doing tonight, talking about all kinds of crazy stuff by dark of night. That's how we do it here on this show. And looking to include you. I'm reading your thoughts in all the chat, of course, because we are streaming on Rockfin, YouTube, DLive, Twitter, and Twitch. And we are broadcasting live on the Fringe FM. That's digital radio. And what's up? Mr. Hugh says, the future only lasts for 24 hours. That's interesting. And there you go. And that's the type of stuff we want to consider tonight. Because what if that's the case? What if that's actually the case? I don't know. But that's what we're doing tonight. We're hanging out talking about time travel and can we break out of this arrow of time? And we'll talk about that and exactly why that's a thing and the second law of thermodynamics and whatnot. So we are streaming in all those places. I'm watching the chat in all those places and trying to keep up with your thoughts. And of course, love to hear your ideas on the show tonight. You can reach me at 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. Phone number is right there on the screen and also on troubledminds.org. That's the official website. You can find the phone number. You can find the Discord link. You can find all the social media, the podcast, the merch store at troubledfans.com. But all that is linked in at troubledminds.org, the one-stop shop for all things Troubled Minds. You can find all the information you need there. And let's see, what else do we got? We're streaming on a digital radio. That's, of course, the Fringe FM. And what that means is that means there's a lot of people out there listening on the TalkStream Live, on the Paranormal app. I see you guys. I'm tuning in my what you call it, my portal, my web portal. Now I see you out there, but so the Fringe does allow us to stream in all those places, and it allows you to pick us up live out there on the road wherever you may be. So if you want to help the Fringe, I would appreciate it very much if you do. Go to their Discord as well. Discord's the same thing as the Troubled Minds Discord, just a different room, and I'm watching the chat there as well. You can join it at fringe.fm/chat. You can also please download the Fringe app. You can find that for free at your app store that you use, whether that's Apple or Android. It's completely free. The easiest way to listen to Troubled Minds Radio. You can tune in at 7 p.m. Monday through Thursday. You get us. You get all the rest of the great programming that happens on Fringe, and all you got to do is smash the play button right at 7 p.m. All right, let's do it. Let's get to this. Now, time travel is one of those ones, right? It's if you look in the conspiracy world and you look up the time travel stuff, there's, the tales of time travelers all over the world, right? And then there's the TikTok time travelers. We've talked about this in the past as well, which is like, I don't know, right? I mean, they sure get a lot of interaction and a lot of views when you talk about time travel and claim to be a time traveler from the future, right? When you're like, I'm here from the year 2267, and I'm here to warn you that the world's going to end next year, right? Everybody clicks it. Everybody goes and watches. Everybody knows it's fake, but everybody still goes and does it anyway, right? Because they want to watch and they want to do the rest of it. What's up, Jess Arogi out there? Shout out to Jess. How are you? And I mean, look, the thing is with all the rest of this time travel stuff, is it real, right? I mean, clearly and obviously, I think that through Einstein's relativity, we do know that the time travel is possible, right? With the twins paradox and how our satellites are just slightly out of sync time-wise with the rest of the Earth because, right, the gravitational signature of time-space and all the rest, right? Like there's a lot of this that really tracks in that time is relative. And what that means is, of course, that time doesn't affect each and every one of us the exact same way. We've talked about this at the quantum level. What does superposition of time mean, right? That's a thing that is still up in the air. People don't really know exactly how that plays, but they've seen in some of these closed systems that maybe quantum particles travel backward in time. So it's complicated, right? Because we, again, just like consciousness, time, we don't know how this works. We just don't know. How come it only moves one direction? Is there and this is the question for tonight, which we'll get to, is there a way to stop it, to freeze time, to maybe step outside of this time lock that we're in into some other time space, right? Or space time, right? You see what I did there. But I don't know. And that's the question, right? So there's a lot going on. We're going to get to this article and I'll ask you some questions. This is from the Debrief, and then this is also reported by phys.org. Let's go to phys.org and read a little bit of this, right? This is from August 22nd. Scientists are unraveling the mystery of the arrow of time. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. So what does that mean, right? Again, back to what the arrow of time is. We'll get to that in just a sec. But the second law of thermodynamics, right? Here we go. The flow of time from the past to the future is a central feature of how we experience the world. But precisely how this phenomenon, known as the arrow of time, arises from the microscopic interactions among particles and cells is a mystery, one that researchers at the CUNY Graduate Center Initiative for the Theoretical Sciences are helping to unravel with the publication of a new paper in the journal Physical Review Letters. The findings could have important implications in a variety of disciplines, including physics, neuroscience, and biology. Uh-oh. Okay, here we go. And this is where we begin tonight, because this is when things start to get super strange, and that's our department. Fundamentally, the arrow of time arises from the second law of thermodynamics, the principle that microscopic arrangements of physical systems tend to increase in randomness, moving from order to disorder. The more disordered a system becomes, the more difficult it is for it to find its way back to an ordered state, and the stronger the arrow of time. In short, the universe's tendency toward disorder is the fundamental reason why we experience time flowing in one direction. All right? And so they're, again, science trying to figure this out, because guess what? Things are complicated, guys. Things are not so easy as you know, this human experience is not like the textbooks say. How about that? I think that we can probably mostly all agree on that, maybe up to a point, right? But that's the problem here, because many of us have seen that one of my favorite movies out there, Interstellar, and there's an interesting point near the end where they sort of enter into this tesseract, this idea of a maybe multi-dimensional space that can access all of time from one area, right? So is this real? Is there an actual, let's say, place where we can go to, like a physical place where we can go to and access some sort of time lock or some sort of cheat code, right? Cheat code to the universe. And so we'll get to the rest of this tonight, more of the second law of thermodynamics and how they're working to unravel these mysteries. But it got me thinking in a lot of terms, right? Number one, the question is this arrow of time. Do you think it's possible as humans and us perceiving time in a, let's say, linear fashion, that it's not the case at all? So the first question actually is, what is time? What is it? Is this just sort of an illusion that maybe brings all of reality and consciousness together into a coherent beginning and ending space, right? Is time tied into consciousness somehow? How about this, right? They say that if we experience time doesn't exist unless it's experienced, right? Or no, or is that not the case, right? Because if there's no people to experience time, or no entities, no living anything, you still have the entropy of the universe, right? So time still exists, except what about the space before the universe and the, quote, Big Bang? Was there time existent then? Right? It's complicated. This is all extremely complicated stuff, and that's why I said make sure you do your stretches tonight, because we're going to go some places that may or may not track. And of course, where we're going, we don't need rails, because of course we're always off the rails on this show. But yeah, so there's a lot of weirdness to this. And yeah, there you go. Derek's got it right. Where the Watcher watches in Marvel Comics, or the Time Variance Authority in Loki. The Time Variance Authority. I love that thought. So the question tonight is this, as we begin. The first question is, what is time? And how far off do you think humans are at perceiving what actual time is? That's the question, right? And then two, and how weird does this get? If we're talking at the quantum level and time travel and all the rest of this stuff, if you have, let's say we've talked about superposition, right? And quantum superposition, let's say in terms of time specifically, does that mean superposition means you can move forward and backward in time depending on, let's say, what you need in any given space, right? I don't know. Again, like I said, answers are easy. If people are peddling answers, run away very quickly. That's my opinion on this. But I do want to know your take. And we all experience time. We've all, we all have, probably some gray hair now, or, maybe are developing gray hair, if not yet. And, well, wouldn't it be nice to be able to grab that time crank and turn it back just a few years, and maybe, let's say, change, I don't know, maybe change the college you went to, maybe, I don't know, maybe, I don't want to get stupid here. I mean, I'm already like way stupid, but I don't want to get any more stupid, but what would you do? Okay. And then, so the third question is, if you could unlock the time space and sort of phase in and out of it and maybe return to the present, what would you do? What would you actually do if you had maybe not necessarily a physical time machine, but let's say a mental time machine where you could actually go into the multiverse, travel in your mind through like some sort of remote viewing experience and tinker with a timeline? Is there something in your life or something even in terms of, let's say, modern history or even ancient history that you think needs a little tickle, needs to be changed just enough, right? And Robert over on Rockfin has said that he thinks that one of the big changes here to our particular timeline is the moment they assassinated JFK, and that it spun things off of like a very sort of cruising along steadily timeline to this hugely chaotic version of the world we live in. So what do you think about those sort of time cycles? And do you think there are moments like nexus points in time where something happens so catastrophic to the zeitgeist and to the human consciousness, let's say multi-level consciousness that we all share, the collective consciousness, where things will actually spin off the rails and turn into this bizarre future, like this dystopian world we live in? So a lot of questions, a lot of things to think about, but there you go. Basically, in a nutshell, what is time and how, let's say, nutty does this get? One more time, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. Let's get back to this article on phys.org. And the arrow of time. Yeah, why not, right? Why not? Let's talk about time travel. So here we go. Quote, the two questions our team had were, and this is back straight from the article. If we looked at a particular system, would we be able to quantify the strength of its arrow of time? And would we be able to sort out how it emerges from the micro scale, where cells and neurons interact, to the whole system? Said Christopher Lin, the paper's first author and a postdoctoral fellow with the ITS program. Continue quote here. Our findings provide the first step toward understanding how the arrow of time that we experience in daily life emerges from these more microscopic details. And as, like I said, microscopic details. And what about, let's say, smaller than microscopic details? What about the quantum world? What about quantum superposition in terms of time? Things get weird. One more time, 702-957-1037. We'll put you on the show. About to go to Joe in Florida, and the call dropped. So we'll give him another second to call back. And that's what we're doing tonight. Why not, right? And I do like the idea of there's some sort of time administrators out there, right? Sort of that idea of the Philip K. Dick Adjustment Bureau sort of thing, where there's actually somebody keeping an eye on this and making sure that the timelines as we see them and experience them are just so, because, it's easy, right? Maybe not easy, but let's say there is some catastrophic sort of event that turns us from the space of, time just kind of cruising, doing its thing, to some really catastrophic version of a dystopian future that it seems we've landed ourselves in. I don't know. Pretty wild stuff here. And like I said, make sure you do your mental stretches tonight, because we're going to be all over the place. But love to hear your thoughts. 702 957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. Jess has it right. Time cop. Exactly. Exactly right. Let's go to Joe in Florida. Thank you for calling back, my friend. Let me unmute you as well. All right. You're on Troubled Minds. What's up? How are you? Go right ahead, sir.
I'm not too bad, but does everything on a Monday have to be tough, including the subject?
Yeah, why not? Hey, why not? Hey, remember, Monday doesn't suck your job. It's your job that sucks. Why not?
It's been okay. The job's been okay. Thank God.
Nice.
I'll give it a shot. I just haven't had time to develop any thoughts. But for me, time would be, we've talked about it before, the book, God's Debris. If God was an all-knowing thing and more or less killed himself or spread himself out, and it's all our experiences. But if we knew the future, I mean, we could tell the past, but if we knew the future, that'd be a pretty boring game, I would think. So it's just experiencing itself, and we're all extensions of that. You know, probably in some kind of reality. And then the other thing is everybody's time different. Everybody's experience of time is basically to their own. And an example of that would be, you know, if you have theory of relativity, the faster you get to the speed of light, time is still the same for you. Everything's the same experience for you in general. But everybody else, like in Interstellar, I think, and all those other movies, everybody else ages. So at that point in time, we've broken away from this maybe shared experience of time on the planet, you know, in search of something else, whatever it is. If we go out into a spaceship, do I think there's a code? I don't know. And if there is some kind of a code, if there's something that makes time go backwards, if you believe in a God or some other omnipresent thing that put this out there or we're all part of, I would tend to think that trying to make the whole machine run backwards would be counterproductive to whatever our lives are, you know, are meant to be or to fulfill. If that makes any sense.
It does make sense. It does make sense.
Not to mention it is.
Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead. I'm following you. Go ahead.
No, you know, if that makes any sense, it would be totally counterproductive to whatever, you know, we're going to do, unless there are, you know, other, you know, such a thing as other timelines. But how would we know? How would we know if? And how would that be any fun? Like if I woke up tomorrow and, you know, my wife isn't my wife and my kids aren't my kids. You know, we would only know that if we knew it, if we experienced it, if it wasn't like a Mandela effect. Like, oh, I have this memory of something, but now I'm here. Would we ever really know? You know, is there one singular reality or are there other realities? Like the multiverse. That's a whole nother, I would think, topic. The other thing I think about is that the universe is so big, either when other civilizations get to a point of being able to go out into the stars efficiently, they kill themselves. We've talked about that maybe they reach a technology that the fail-safe is, bam, they nuke themselves, they destroy themselves. Or if they are able to go, they certainly haven't invented time travel yet. Because I would think that maybe we would see it. I mean, aside from those weird pictures that you see that, you know, somebody looks out of place, or they have a phone, or they have a recording device, something like that. I don't know. I just don't know. And then if I could go back in time, you know, what I do, I don't know, but I agree with Robert that I think when they killed Kennedy and MLK, I think the dream of the country shattered. And that may have shattered the forward that pushed us into another reality. And then part of me also thinks that they're trying to get us all on board so we could be drones. And that's the AI and all the other things we talk about. So we all have a shared experience. However dystopian that shared experience is, that we get pushed in that direction. I'm trying to get everything done because I hear the music.
You're good.
But anyway, those are my thoughts for now.
I appreciate it, my friend. Joe in Florida, always a pleasure. Thanks for listening. Thanks for the call. Have a fantastic night, bro. There you go. That was a fantastic one to kick us off. What do you think? What do we not know about time? Is it possible to unlock the sequence of time and the arrow of time? 702-957-1037. Don't go anywhere. More Troubled Minds and your calls when we return. Welcome back to Troubled Minds. I'm your host, Michael Strange, and we are streaming on Rockfin, YouTube, DLive, Twitter, and Twitch, and we're broadcasting live on the Fringe FM. And tonight, we're talking about time and the arrow of time. Is it possible, somehow, some way, to access a cheat code that allows us to not only remember the past, but also in the same space, remember a future that is yet to occur? Love to hear your thoughts. Is this way too off the rails for you? If it is, that's okay, because we live off the rails on this show. That's what it's always been about. And you can reach the show at 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. And I know it's complicated. This is a tough one because, right, think about it in terms of, let's say, the Akashic record or something like this. We talk about the universe as being data, being energy and data, and we've talked about the quantum nothingness of empty space, the vacuum, whatever that even means. It's very difficult when you start thinking in terms of these huge, just monstrous spaces like the universe itself, especially when it's expanding and all the crazy stuff that's going on out there, right? And of course the black hole information, that's all the information sucked into these black holes. Where does it go? Does it stay in some sort of stasis until it's released again at some point? Does it shoot out the back of a black hole into another universe? I mean, that's all information. That's all data. That's all ideas. And that's all like past loves and dreams and everything, right? Literally everything, every single bit of energy in the multiverse, or let's say universe in this case, because multiverse is a little thick here. But, right, it's out there. It's out there. And what does it mean? And I think that's the question tonight. So can we also not just remember the past, but can we remember or have the ability to remember the future? And that's the thing, right? So if we talk about the quantum world and how they're trying to come up with this idea of, let's say, the one theory, right? The theory of everything, meaning that the quantum world and the macro world, they fit, they work together, okay? We know it happens because we can observe it, except we don't know how. Yeah, there you go. Tim's got it right. The multiverse is thick with two C's. Absolutely. But right, so this quantum world and this macro world, they do work together or else we wouldn't be here. But then the question becomes, if you have this superposition in the quantum world and, let's say, time-traveling particles, which we're going to get to in the second half of the show tonight, actual time-traveling particles, which, by the way, we're doing right here on Earth. That's right here on Earth, just in case you didn't know that was the case. It is the case. We are doing time-traveling particles right here on Earth. So what is this? Do we not understand time as a basic construct? And are we stuck into this time space, into this time slice, as I like to call it? We'll go back to these articles here and read a little bit more of this, but I'd love to hear from you instead if you got a take on this. Is it possible to have a cheat code where we unlock time and are able to see not only backward through our memory or otherwise, but also forward in time? Because why not? How far off do you think we've misconstrued time in the human element? One more time, 702-957-1037. What's up, Kay Farnan over on Rockfin says, light only lives now. Future timeline violates free will. But what if it's always fluid? So that's the question, right? If the future timeline is fluid, and you can basically, you remember the past, but can you also remember multiple futures. And I think that's the thing. Yeah, there you go. 40s wants to know, does the cheat code include infinite money or an insomnia cure? I don't know about that. I mean, maybe we could fix those ideas before we go. But I don't know. I think that's what we're talking about tonight. Let's go. What else do we got? All right. So there's some interesting things here. Let's talk about, right. So of course, time in these different variations of how we describe time, okay? We're going to go to this. This is psychological time, and this is how we perceive it, right? Once again, how we perceive something doesn't mean it's exactly how it is. It just means that's how we perceive it, okay? And how far off is it? That's the question tonight. So here we go. This is something known as psychological time. And just as a quick brief here so you understand where we're at, people live in a constantly changing dynamic environment. Our internal environment is also dynamic and is characterized by biological and mental processes that are in constant flux. Without these changes in both the external and internal environments, life on Earth would not exist. The dimension along which all these things occur is called time. Without dwelling on its exact nature, which we're going to do a little bit more tonight anyway, but this is from this article of Psychological Time, a book written by Dan Zaki, Z-A-K-A-Y, Zaki maybe? So time can be represented by the clock, represented by a clock, and it's a useful notion that provides a good explanation for physical phenomena in our external environment. Like other organisms, humans must be able to relate to time to survive and adjust to the external environment. This presupposes that information about time is conveyed and perceived. Since no known human perceptual system is dedicated to time, subjective temporal experiences are likely to compensate for this lack. Specifically, these subjective experiences may be based on internal changes in events as reflected by internal clocks or memory processes. And complicated, right? It's funny that something so basic to the human experience as time, something incredibly basic. We're born, we age, hopefully we live a good life, we pass, we move on, right? But so basic that we don't even understand it. Think about it. Two things, right? Two things incredibly important to the human experience. Number one, time. Entropy, the second law of thermodynamics, right? But also consciousness. Like both things are very rudimentary in our understanding of what they are in totality. And do they intertwine? Are we creating time with consciousness? Is it necessary to experience time as such? Or maybe without consciousness, you can achieve this cheat code unlock of time scales and be able to see into the future as well as remember the past, or remember the future, right? Remember the future is the term. I don't know. It's complicated. And that's why we talk about this, because I know it's Monday. I know it's one of those things where it's difficult to really frame this in well, how do we step outside of the human experience and kind of put ourselves in a space where we can even understand the concept of what life without time might be like, right? Suddenly things are weird. And that's why we do this. Like I said, unafraid, marching on. We're going to keep doing this. And I'll read a little bit more about this. So we got psychological time. We've got cosmological time. And, of course, we've got the second law of thermodynamics, which is entropy. All right? We're going to get to that as well. But, again, love to hear your thoughts instead. More important for me to hear what you think about this. Is it possible to flip the script on the arrow of time? Meaning, again, do we have the ability somehow, some way, to actually remember the future? Yeah. Not like X-Files fight the future. No, remember the future. And of course, let's say the future is always in motion, like Yoda says, with his precognitive force abilities. He tries to see the future and help Luke Skywalker, if you remember that. And he says specifically, difficult to see, always in motion, the future is. So is that the way this works? So Yoda was remembering a future yet to happen, but it was so clouded by the fog of time itself that he couldn't actually perceive what the real future would be. I don't know. And again, there's another one. What's up, Bobby Broadway in the chat says, if we can relive time over and over, then yes. That's another one too. So how about the idea that time actually just is the flat circle? It's a big loop. And we're just stuck in this same loop to be repeated for all eternity. That's another thought too. Does that actually fly? I don't know. Like I said, this is all one of those things where I love thinking about it. I love considering the possibilities here. But how do you break out, right? We talk about, escaping the simulation. What's up? Shout out to Jess Rogie out there. Breaking out of the paradigm of what it means to be a human. And there's some good stuff with that. Humans are fantastic. But think about it in terms of if you could experience the universe without the shell, without the meat suit, how does energy experience the universe? And if just the energy from within us was able to experience the universe in this sort of time frame from entropy, right? Or let's say psychological time, is there a place where these two things meet? And is it the energy inside of us? And that's I don't know. Like I said, always important to consider this stuff, in my opinion, because if you're not, I don't know what you're doing. But the second part ends up being, how do we escape? How do we get out of this? And I don't mean to be dark and try and get out of life. Let's live life. Let's love life. Let's be good to each other. Let's be good to ourselves. None of that. I'm not talking dark things at all. I'm talking the energy within us. If it's the energy without us, is that what we need to experience the memory of the future that is yet to come? 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. Let's go to Joseph in Iowa. What's up, my friend? You're on Troubled Minds. How are you tonight? Go right ahead.
Hey, I wondered to, break it. I wondered, if you were to get rid of, the variables in life, basically take away free will, I wonder if that would break it. Because, you would be able to, you would know the future, and then you maybe could build some kind of point A to point B system, and then I don't know, that would be kind of a cheat code, wouldn't it, if you could send information back and forth, or I don't know, you know what I'm saying though, right?
Yeah. So you could send
a system.
Yeah. So you could send information from the future to the past, and from the past to the future through this linear timeline that would never change. That makes some sense, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm with you. Of course, how would you lock down all the variables of a very complex universe? But there's a problem. But I do like the idea.
Sure, that's. Or a telescope that's maybe okay, we got the new telescope. I forgot even what it's called. It's
James Webb.
Is it James Webb?
Yep, you got it.
Okay. So they can't even face that at Earth because it'll break it, I heard. So if they were to put something further, maybe launch something to the Andromeda, the galaxy that's coming at us, and then face back at our galaxy, maybe we could see, because we would be seeing, but how would we get a telescope there in time? That would be, the technology would be crazy just to do that. But if you were to do that and you were able to get data back from another galaxy, you think would you be seeing in the future or the past?
Well, that's what they tell us, is that. Yeah, it's a good question.
Yeah, that is what they tell us.
Yeah, that's what they tell us. So we're seeing light from the distant past, from thousands or billions of years ago type stuff. So I don't know. So what if it was reversed, right? Could you flip the lens of that reality and be able to see, instead of the past, be able to see into the future through the light spectrum? I don't know, man. Things start to get weird when you think in those terms, right?
Yeah, or we're face it to where we're going or something. I don't even know. The mental one kind of got me thinking. I don't know what you were going on with the mental time, because I know movement, that is a really big key. If you're not moving, your time is going to go faster, and it's almost like we can deteriorate our time. Time can deteriorate faster. Yeah, that's what. So Ronald was making the joke that time does it is relative, because the time moves faster on the weekends, right? And it's kind of funny, but it's kind of true. and that would be psychological time. It doesn't. It still measures the same, but how we experience it as a person and how that time dilates within our experience, it does change, right? So I don't know, man. That's what psychological time actually is. Yeah, and I wonder if like if your energy is going back in time, if you're feeling something from like your ancestors, I wonder if they can also like pick up that feeling. Like let's say uh I was I was like meditating or something, and like where I'm at right now, there would be like Indians probably. I don't even know, because it could go further back than that. It could go to like Pangea, or like when everything was connected. It could just be a whole bunch of people like where I'm at, or I don't know. I mean, they have like effigy mounds and stuff that are near me, and I wonder if like people can pick up like, and if they do, and if they can like pick up energy and like detect it traveling back in time, like just mentally powered off your body, like if they could stop it. Like I did comment like something about a wall, like a time wall, just to stop, and then that would lock down the future even more. Like if people were going back in the past, it would definitely make the future a little bit more blurry.
I think so.
I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. So do you think now this is one theory at time as well, that it all exists. It like from the very beginning to the very end, it already exists. It's just a question of accessing it. And so what you're describing is that access, there's like a time wall. And that's what I'm talking about, the cheat code, sort of being able to step outside or pass through that time wall. Do you think that we could experience, let's say, just the energy of consciousness? Do you think we could experience the future, or remember the future, as it were?
I think we can see everything. At some point, we see everything. Like, and it's kind of hard to imagine, but like at some point, we're like just the everything. So that includes, but that's just a little bit of what it is. I mean, that's just the flash of what actually happens. But it's just that's just what I believe.
Yeah, and it's a wild thing too, right? We talk about the power of belief, and sometimes belief doesn't matter at all. It just depends on who you ask. So time's one of those things where whether you believe it or not, it's still just doing its thing. And without us, it's just, hey, my hair keeps getting gray. Help, Joseph. How do we fix this? And don't tell me hair dye. Don't you dare tell me hair dye.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't know how to fix gray in hair. But like, I think it's weird how like video games, they let you cheat in some of them. Like I think just little stuff like that, like because there's a, like if you play video games and stuff, like, or like everyone's played a video game, but if someone finds like an exploit, it's just like people jump on it. Like everyone, it's kind of weird. And even in like VR, like I play VR, there's like this glitch in this like super Pong. It's like Pong, but like you're in space, and it's 5 versus 5. And there's this glitch. It just throws you into empty space. But people, ever since they discovered it, like every lobby I go into, there'll be people crawling into this void that leads to nowhere. And I think just because you can do something else, they'll do it. And I think that's programmed in a lot of people. Like, I think that might be the cheat code, the original one. It's like almost like a virus, how it mutates. Like, you got like your base virus, and then like people get their virus, not like an actual virus like COVID. It could be like a computer virus too. So someone takes their computer virus and then they alter it slightly, so then like the antivirus won't pick it up. And if that gets picked up, they'll alter it again by another hacker, you know?
Yeah, it could be like back to the old simulation theory. And how does all that work? I don't know, man. I don't know. Like it's once you start looking in terms of the different types of realities, and then kind of putting consciousness and time all together into this big mixer. It's let's say a nice perfect space for confusion, and here we are. Confusion universe. Welcome to it.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think I don't really think too much in it. Like when I get confused, I don't really get too confused. I just like brush it off. You know, like I don't like let things get to me too much, but I do have like a strong belief because I had an experience, and like I don't know where I was going with that. I completely forgot where I was going. Just probably should hang up.
You're all good, man. Hey, it's hard. It's hard, right? It's hard. Not only to like hold sort of the concept of like a complex thought, but then also kind of riff on it as you go, right? It's hard. It's not an easy thing. It's not an easy thing, but you are definitely in the right place. What's up? Matt says bullet time. Matt in California. Hey, Joseph, you and I experienced bullet time together. Time slowed down, time sped up, and here we are, confused as we ever were. You're the best, my friend. Thank you for the phone call. Always a pleasure. Thanks for listening, and have a fantastic night, bro.
Yep.
Thanks a lot. That's Joseph, good friend of mine. He's got a YouTube channel. It's called IO Walks. He's a talented musician. He does live streams over there and puts up short music, video clips, and he's got all kinds of original music. Please go check it out. Links in the description. It says follow Joseph here, and maybe go do some bullet time with Joseph and see if you can change the timelines together. But so that's what we're talking about tonight. In terms of the arrow of time, is it possible to flip this script? Is it possible to actually maybe step outside of this? And what does it take? What does it take from people, right? And is it, right? Some people would describe stepping out of time itself as consciousness, being able to maybe remote view not just the past, but also the future, all right? And that would mean that the future would have to exist, right? It would have to be out there in the ether waiting for somebody to perceive it. And so that becomes the question. Is it already written? Is it foggy, as Yoda says, and difficult to tell, always in motion the future is? Or do you think that the future is yet to be written? And the only thing, and in some cases, right, I forgot who said this, but one philosophy of this is that the past doesn't exist, the future doesn't exist, and the only thing that does exist is the present. The time we are in this moment, is the only thing that exists. And so, I don't know. Like I said, confusing, complicated, you're damn right it is. But if we're not talking about it, like I always say, who the hell is? So we're going to keep on doing it. We're going to keep on punching. We're going to get to, coming up here after the top of the arrow, we got Robert in Pennsylvania. We got Night Stalker on deck as well. That's Derek in Massachusetts, who was on Coast to Coast last night, in case anybody was out there listening. Yeah, that was him calling Duncan Trussell last night on Coast. If you caught the end of that, yeah, it was him. Good friend here, Night Stalker. We'll get to him in a second as well. But the question is, right, as we go, wait, let me do the tease first, and I'll ask the question. We're going to get to the quantum space, and we're going to get to time-traveling particles, because as we know, right, mass and increases the closer you get to the speed of light, but also time slows down. So what do you think is actually happening at CERN? Yeah, they're actually, you got it, time-traveling particles in the particle accelerator. We're going to get to that in the next hour when we come up and talk about that idea of quantum superposition, but not just in terms of, let's say, what's next, but the time space. Quantum superposition of time. And does it matter or not? All right, so that's what we're doing tonight. And the question is this, right? As we grind down to the hour here, well, how far off is our perception of time as people? That's what's on my mind tonight. And not only that, they say that scientists are becoming ever closer to unraveling the arrow of time, which means, of course, is it possible, somehow, some way, maybe even soon, to unlock entropy and be able to reverse things that have come to pass? Love to hear your thoughts on this. 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. This is Troubled Minds. I'm Michael Strange. Don't go anywhere. More, the arrow of time, flipping the script, quantum superposition, and time itself when we return. Be right back. Don't go anywhere. We got Robert in Pennsylvania and Derek in Massachusetts, and your calls when we return. Be right back.
You're listening to Troubled Minds. Join us as we discuss an upside-down world that nobody seems to notice.
We are talking about the alien abduction phenomenon. Aliens.
The aliens are looking through your eyes and they're accessing your optic nerve. I'm doing fantastic. And through that optic nerve, they're transferring to your brain. People are developing random images as they traverse neurons in the brain.
So we got, all right, so maybe
and they also feel them planting or receiving memories or ideas or images.
Broadcasting live from a secret bunker just off the extraterrestrial highway. Somewhere in the desert sands outside of Las Vegas. From somewhere in space-time, loosely labeled Generation X on planet Earth. And asking questions of you in earnest into the digital darkness.
Yo ho, yo ho. Welcome to Troubled Minds Radio. I'm your host, Michael Strange, and we are streaming on Rockfin, YouTube, DLive, Twitter, and Twitch. And we're broadcasting live on the Fringe FM. Tonight, we're talking about the idea of time. Is it possible to unlock entropy, to unlock the second law of thermodynamics, which means things begin and things move toward chaos, disorder? Is it possible at some point to put the toothpaste back in the tube? What do you think? As a human experiencer of time, I think it's complicated. But some people may have a different perception of time as not as complicated. And I'd love to hear your thoughts. You can reach the show at 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. You can also click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. We'll put you on the show as easy as that. But time, the arrow of time, is it possible to flip the script and enable some sort of cheat code? What if you could remote view and look into the future? Would the future be static or would it be cloudy, foggy, as Yoda said in Empire Strikes Back? Difficult to see. Always in motion, the future is. Love to hear your thoughts on this. Let's go to Robert in Pennsylvania. Thanks for being patient, my friend. You're on Troubled Minds. What do you know about time? Go right ahead, sir.
Well, I know this much. If I knew the future, if I could see it, which would be personal, because I wouldn't be just seeing the future events of the world, but my own, knowing what was each day was going to be and what was going to happen. I think that'd be quite boring. You're just living to go through it, knowing what's coming down the road. There's no anticipation.
Okay, that makes sense. So you'd want to see. I think that the interesting part about that too, to me, is when you look at the future, right? In, let's say, from the human perspective, you're right. It ends up being boring because sure, at some point you're sort of exhilarated if you could know the future, But then, right, at some point it becomes so far removed from you in your present state of being that it almost becomes like a sci-fi movie or something, right?
Right, because in order to see the future, you have to enter a dimension where time doesn't exist. All right, there have been people who've had near-death experiences, people who purport to have traveled astrally, and they have this, particularly the near-death experiences where they get the review of their past lives. But there are some that claim that they're also shown why they have to go back and shown the future that they have to experience, that they agreed to. All right? That would be awful, because when we are in this existence, for one thing, I've said this many, many times, we write the script. We decide what our lives are going to be, who the people are going to be that are significant to us in that life, and what the plot's going to be, what the challenges are, why we're doing that. And in order to do all that, in order for that to work, we have to, once we're born, forget about it. We have to forget we got to forget the whole script, just like an actor. You're sitting in a movie theater and you're looking up at the big screen and you're just drawn to this actor or this actress who can just, it just seems so real. This, like, that is the person. That actress is not the person, but that actress is concentrating. She knows the whole script. She's been rehearsing the script, all right, over and over and over again. She knows her lines, but she has to forget them so that there's spontaneity, so that it seems real. That's what we do. All right, we already know what our future is because we decided what it was going to be before we incarnated here. But again, that's a dimension that we come from, that where time doesn't exist, and we can do that. We can see into the future there because time isn't a reality. And frankly, we know that time's not real, that all things are happening at once. So, and I have some ideas to throw out there.
Sure, go right ahead.
Ones, if you don't mind.
Absolutely, go ahead.
Like I said, if we can view the future by our daily, mundane consistencies of our day-to-day lives, we would be terribly bored by that. I mean, you get up, you're going to go to work, you're going to do this, Is there going to be anything different maybe 5 years down the line? If we could see that, all right, we're basically, we're why bother living? All right, because the whole idea of living is like, this from your own career. The whole idea of living is to reach out and try to make your life better, to try to have some success with what you're trying to, to fulfill some dreams, some ambitions. And if you already know that you're going to do that, if you can see it in the future, you might not even bother.
I see. So if the challenge has already been achieved before you even try, then why try? But then it doesn't come to pass.
Free will. Right. Would you, if you could see, there was times, I know from talking to you, and your audience knows this because you've opened up to your audience. There was times when you were down, depressed, not sure where you were going, ready to quit. If you could see, and maybe you did, maybe subconsciously you knew what your future was going to be, and that's why you didn't quit. You knew if you kept at it, that was the script, there is where you were going to go. I mean, maybe we see the future subconsciously because we know what that future is, because we created it, we wrote it, and maybe you did too. But here's the thing, when someone talks about free will, and again, remember, I'm saying that our lives are all scripted. We wrote it. But that makes us writers, playwrights, writers, whatever. That means that we can edit at any time that script. All right. That's what the free will is, and we do have free will, and that free will is equivalent to editing the future of our lives. We can change anything if we want to.
Okay, all right. It's just a matter of knowing how. So how is it? Do you just is it work? Is it thought? Is it consciousness? How does it happen?
I think I think that's what I was referring to earlier when it came to, making references to your experience. We have to forget the play, the script that we wrote, what we're here to do, and how it's supposed to turn out. We're supposed to do that, but that doesn't mean it's gone. It's in our subconscious. It might even be in our DNA. All right, what we're going to do. But since it's still there, it's somewhere. It's in our subconscious. We can sense something coming, in our future, maybe our near future, something that that doesn't. We subconsciously intuitively see it, and we say, and we make up our mind. Maybe that's not where I want to go. How many times have you decided you were going to go somewhere? You're going to do this or you're going to do that, and suddenly you change your mind. I'm sure that's happened many times in your life, everybody's life.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Excuse me. Was that you editing the future? That's what I see as free will. You're anticipating and you decided, I'm going to change it. I'm not going to take that left. I'm going to take the shortcut. Or I'm not going to take the shortcut. I'm going to take the scenic route. You're editing the script because your subconscious knows the future, and you can change it at any time you want to. And we do that often throughout our lives. We edit our own lives. And also, maybe those aliens that talk so much about, and I've said this before, are our future descendants who are using saucer-shaped time machines to come back to our time and to make changes, to critical mistakes of the past that impacted their lives, their existence in the future. And they're using maybe some really, really supercharged quantum AI as a map they use that to sharpen the surgery of what they want to make changes to, because they don't want to make changes that eliminates their own existence or makes the future worse.
I love it. Like CRISPR for time. You sort of interject into the timeline, and
that's a T-shirt.
That's a T-shirt.
CRISPR for time. That is remarkable. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. That's remarkable. Very good, Mr. Strange.
Hey, you said it.
Well, what I called for.
I just named it. I appreciate it.
Very good. That CRISPR for time.
CRISPR for time.
I like that. That's a good story, Tyler. To think about that. All right. I'll get off and let Night Stalker on. I just wanted to make a phone call and be one of those people that have their ideas and be off.
Appreciate it very much. Have a great night. Thanks for listening. Thanks for the call. That's Robert, good friend of mine, good friend of the show, affectionately known as The Robert. He's an author, and he's got a book called Stories from a Fractured Mind, the Robert Collection. Full disclosure, he sent me a couple copies. I read it. It's fantastic. There's a link in the description if you want to check it out. And he hates every time I plug his book, but he's kind enough to help me and call in. I like his book. There you go. 702-957-1037. We're talking about the arrow of time. I almost said the area. The arrow of time. Flipping the script. Is it possible to unlock this somehow? And again, what does it mean to remove the human experience from time itself, or vice versa? What does it look like? I know it gets complicated. I know this is one of those ones you got to stretch before you really consider this, but we're unafraid. Monday night means Derek isn't working, and let's go to Derek in Massachusetts. The Night Stalker. What's up, my friend? You're coming off the coast high. Is everything okay over there?
Oh man, I'm hitting my wall right now. I have not slept since yesterday. It's just been one of those days where a lot of I can't turn the brain off and just let a really busy day. So, but it might be the mental elasticity necessary to handle a topic like this. You know what I mean? I might be able to pull myself in the right directions, but like I'm all over the place. So you have to kind of prompt me with the questions here.
I got you, buddy.
But like,
I got you. Go ahead.
First, just for the experience like outside of time, like you mentioned the Watcher in Marvel, how it like that's his whole job is just it's in this own little like quantum bubble space. It's in the cartoon. It was like displayed as kind of this like crystal bubble type thing, and it's just his whole job is just to watch everything, watch the multiverse, watch all of time just unfold or whatever, and he can't intervene. And then you mentioned in chat, and Jess Rogi mentioned stuff like Umbrella Academy, Loki as a time variance authority, Doctor Who. Obviously, there's like the Wave Rider is like the ship in Legends of Tomorrow on CW, but just this little pocket realm, this little pocket quantum bubble that allows you to like escape the time stream, and which is like obviously a really cool sci-fi idea, and at least a lot of possibilities. Like one of my favorite versions of that is Dragon Ball Z, when they have that like time chamber thing where like Goku can like go in and train like one day in the chamber is like a year, like you experience a year inside, so you can train for a year, then you come out, only a day has passed and you're like super jacked or whatever. And it's just like that's always been a cool thing ever since I was a little kid, and now especially there's just like so much, even just something as simple as the amount of content you want to consume. It's just I don't have enough time in the world, let alone like master a skill, learn a language, learn anything. I mean, like there's just not enough time. Constantly, just like time is just slipping through our hands, like grains of sand. You know, it's crazy. So, but when it comes down to it, like when it comes to time travel and stuff, I'm not sure if it's like that, if it works like that. Like, and we're living inside whatever this time matrix is. Like there's all kinds of like deep conspiracy theories about like, the Saturn time cube, and that like the Saturn hexagon is like we're in this prison planet, and like the prison is that we had time put on us for like some prison purpose, or just like this is a place that's used to grow things. Without time you can't grow things, so that's just what this reality is for, yada yada. But that's not really where I want to go with it. More so just because we're in time, it's tough to explain it without using like contradictory words. So I'm going to say stuff like momentum and traverse, but like it's not like that. It's just how we experience that. So the way I see it is like it is the multiverse where we're not like flowing through time. We're not experiencing, or we're experiencing moments happening like linearly, one after the other. And the idea of having it go backwards, or like skipping moments, or being able to like adjust the dial, like you're popping on different moments of the podcast that you want to listen to, would be awesome. But I think it's more like experiential and like consciousness based, and that there's literally infinite realities in the multiverse, literally infinite. So, and it's just all based on experience, like, and we know that the physical reality that we've manifested in front of us that we experience is not what's happening. It's like 0.5% to 5%, but it's not what's going on. So like part of that filter is that we experience like the filter of being in this vessel, in this 3D realm or whatever, is making us experience moment to moment to moment to moment. But I think in reality, what's happening is just, it's the constant infinite nows that are like, so that's kind of like the whole secret idea, like the law of attraction idea, is if you kind of like, you can't really imagine yourself having a Ferrari and get the Ferrari, but it's the idea of if like your reality is being shot through you and you're the filter for that reality, and like based on how that filter is, whatever the shape of whatever's on the slide that's going into the projector has on it is what's going to be shot on the screen. It's what you're going to experience. So if you change that filter, which is if you change your mind, then the thing that's going to be shot on the screen, which is your reality, will be different. So in theory, you can experience anything, everything, any possible thing. Like, so, and that's the free will. And where the momentum takes place is like seems to be like a momentum, like unless you take action, there's like a trajectory that you're kind of going towards, like droplets of water on a window, kind of like dripping down. They're gonna kind of like, you can kind of predict where they're gonna go unless you like put your finger in and like stop them or whatever. But like, again, that's from our vantage point. It's not, I don't believe under this paradigm that that's actually what's happening, which is how we're experiencing it. So like, shout out Duncan Trussell again, like the OG. He's talked about one like Buddhist idea of like almost like reincarnation, but not of like different, like inside different vessels, but more so like you repeating your same actions, your same life, infinite amount of times. And the analogy was, you repeat the same life, the same moments as many times as if a bird flew over a mountain, dropped the feather onto the mountain, enough times for that feather to erode the mountain into nothing is the amount of times that you've repeated the same thing over and over and over again. And Duncan described it as a runnel, that momentum of all those incarnations, of all those repeated times of you doing the same thing. When you choose to take action and like escape that runnel, that's when like synchronicities happen. And that's when like time kind of shifts a little bit. And that's when like you kind of like, you're in the flow state, you're like in the zone, and things kind of slow down or speed up depending on like what you want. Like you kind of get in that zone. And I know we're running out of time. I'm really rambling bad. I'm sorry. But like I think if there is like a time variance authority or some kind of like chrononauts or like some kind of a chronocracy, it would be something that's like being able to like predict probabilities, to predict that momentum in some way. That like our collective is kind of influencing that like water flow, that runnel pattern or whatever, in order to like maintain that flow or guide that raindrop down the window in the direction that it wants us to go as a collective. But like as far as a person time traveling, I think it would be more like you can just go and see other times. You can, or I don't really know, honestly. It gets messy. I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
Sorry.
No, what are you talking about? You're perfect. You're perfect.
I feel like I'm off the rails. Sorry.
No, that's perfect. We're supposed to be off the rails on this show. Yeah, and I think that's so that flat circle thing. I do like the idea, like you said, the feather on the mountain eroding it to nothing. That's how many times we've sort of been through this same pattern. And so interesting that if it is a flat circle, when you change, let's say the flat circle, you make the change over all these iterations of yourself. Does that circle, let's say in a dimensional sense, raise, right? So the flat circle remains. It's just that you maybe take a step up. It's
your karma. It's another way to define karma or like interpret karma. It's like that's your. It's momentum. It's like it's what you've been doing for all those countless iterations. But like because this infinite possible realities that you have the ability to experience. That's the free will. Like the destiny is that momentum, that karma, that's hurtling you through your perception of your incarnations. But like free will is that you have the option of choosing any different one you want to, and it may be tough depending on how. Like I see time as like a shape, so how far away on the shape you want to experience. But like you'll experience synchronicity, and it feels good when you do it, and it's like that's like breaking those chains or breaking that negative karma or clearing up whatever analogy you want to use. I know it's a time travel show, so I'm trying to get back on time travel, but like
you're okay.
I feel like I think that's kind of the seance thing, the Council of Nine type thing. It might be a time travel thing where we're like, or some kind of something realizes that what we're talking about is the case, and there is no past and future or something. It's just you trying to like move your consciousness possibly to other, from our perspective, locales, and maybe contact via like consciousness ways, like seances or like channeling or like, because who knows what, you know, as far as like if there's real chrononauts going around, that could be what it is. And there's sci-fi analogies to that, but I feel I'm getting really subconscious, and I feel like I'm not on topic right now.
No. You're per usual. You were slaying it. Night Stalker here, a good friend of mine, Derek in Massachusetts. He's got a YouTube channel. Would you check it out, please, Derek? You're always on point. Don't worry about it. Get some rest, my friend. Thanks for listening. Thanks for the call. Appreciate it very much. Link is in the description. Give Derek a follow. He's got one video. Go check it out. Let's make him the only guy on YouTube that has one video and all the followers. Link in the description. Please give him some love. Derek is a great dude, good friend of mine. We're still talking about this. We're going to get to that CERN stuff like I was talking about and firing photons into the future. Do you think that's real? Well, hold on to your butts because it may be. 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. This is Troubled Minds. I'm Michael Strange. Don't go anywhere. More of all this, Arrow of Time, flipping the script, and your calls when we return. Be right back. Welcome back to Troubled Minds. I'm your host, Michael Strange, and we are streaming on Rockfin, YouTube, DLive, Twitter, and Twitch, and we are broadcasting live on the Fringe FM. And shout out to Catalina. Happy belated birthday over there on the Fringe chat. I see you. She's over there talking about karma and how karma may actually lock into this idea of time as that flat circle we were discussing. That there are karmic debts that need to be paid before you can rewrite the script. Thanks, Kat, for the great thoughts. What do you guys think? Do you think this is all related, consciousness, karma, and the time frames? Or do you think, well, we're just off the rails again, per usual, doing the thing that we do? Love to hear your thoughts on this. 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037, and we'll put you on the show. You can also click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. That's the official website. And there you go. We'll put you there and say hi. Now to this, right? And now this. Now this one's pretty wild, right? This is talking about building time machines, okay? And so we're talking tonight we're talking about this idea of reversing the arrow of time, right? We're locked into this time slice, as I like to call it. And how do we remove ourselves? Clearly we can remember the past, but can we, quote, remember the future? And does it already exist? And so Yoda says, always in motion the future is, difficult to see. So maybe that's because free will is that fog. The fog of free will clouds our memory of the future. I wonder, right? Suddenly things maybe seem a little bit more clear, or not, as the case may be. So let's get to this, talking about building a time machine. Now, this is from techtimes.com, and this is pretty wild, right? Listen to this. Time travel is possible. Scientists have already built a time machine, all right? And so time machine, meaning not like you hop in the thing and you go back and see the dinosaurs, not like that, right? No, actual moving photons at close to the speed of light or at the speed of light is essentially firing them into the future. Listen to this. According to Albert Einstein's theory of special relativity, time is relative depending on how fast you are moving. This is the basis for real-world concepts and research on time travel. Quote, "The faster you move through space, the slower you move through time," said Ohio State University astrophysicist Paul Sutter. He added that while movies always need some sort of a complicated contraption to travel through time, all that is needed is a large rocket. We've talked about this idea before, the twins paradox and all the rest. But listen, this gets even more weird when it comes to CERN. Time travel is actually already happening. Astronauts living on the International Space Station are moving faster than the people on Earth. This means the astronauts age slightly slower in space than they would back home. One example is a time traveler was cosmonaut Gennady Padalka, probably said all that wrong, but who arrived back on Earth in September 2015 after breaking the record for the longest stay in space at 879 days. Quote, "When Mr. Padalka came back from his adventures, he found the Earth to be 1/44th of a second to the future of where he expected it to be," wrote Princeton physicist J. Richard Gott in his book titled Time Travel in Einstein's Universe. He literally traveled into the future, all right? Well, yeah, wouldn't you know it, astronauts and subatomic particles being sent a fraction of a second into the future is far from the end goal of time travel. And this is actually, here we go. The Large Hadron Collider propels proton at nearly the speed of light, which is a speed that makes the relative time of the protons move around 6,900 times slower compared to human observers. In essence, the protons are being sent to the future. Back to the future. So there you go, right? We are actually sending photons into the future, and not only that, 6,900 times slower, right? That's how quickly this is happening in those terms. Pretty nutty stuff. So what do you guys think? Is it possible to actually flip that script, the arrow of time? Can we somehow remember the future, a future that is yet to pass? Or is this sort of that flat circle of time where we are just repeating the same thing over and over and over through the eons? And yes, indeed. Yeah, I'm not sure. I do like the ideas of this, but clearly, not the answers guy. I wish I knew how to really change some of this. I just snap my fingers and change some of this, right? But it's not that easy. What about some other ideas about time travel? Do you think that it is possible in some capacity? What's up? We practice it every evening, says Kelly over there. And also here, he says this. If you want to slow down your own time clock or to slow down your aging, I suggest to read the Emerald Tablets of Thoth, Tablet 13. There you go. I'm not exactly sure what's on that. And he says we practice it every evening. Good stuff there. And Robert adds, the info in Tablet 13 is not only fascinating, but truth as well. I'm not familiar with the Emerald Tablets, Tablet 13, but what do you guys think? Anybody know anything about this? And what are your thoughts regarding these time slices? Can you actually somehow back out of them, change them, be able to remember a future that has not yet come to pass? Or is this just all science fiction, horse manure, and damn it, Mike, you're off the rails again. Now you've really done it. And that's okay. That's okay with me. But I'm fascinated by the idea that we are firing these photons from CERN into the future because they're traveling at the speed of light, which means, right, not only are we able to perceive the star light from billions of light years ago, time-wise, not just distance-wise, time-wise, but also we're able to fire them at the speed of light and achieve some sort of time travel, at least with the photons themselves. Photon, plural, I guess, is how you would say it. They know you're a rookie CERNer when you say photons. I guess it's photon. I don't know. Anyway, what are your thoughts here? Is this a situation where we can actually do this, or is it just not a thing at all? And that's what I want to know. That's what we're talking about tonight. And taking your calls, we're doing it at 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. We'll put you on the show. So we left off with psychological time, all right, which we talked about, meaning it's our perception. And somebody said in the chat, if you're talking to a nice, attractive person, 5 minutes goes by like that. You have your hand on a hot stove for 5 minutes. Well, it seems like eternity because get me the hell out of here. This burns, right? And so it's not just time itself as counted by the seconds. It's the perception of time. And that's known as psychological time. It's how our brain processes these things. And we've actually seen some of this in terms of, if you ever had like a traumatic experience, like a car crash, as you hopefully nobody got hurt and the rest of that. But there's that moment where everything seems to slow down, like your brain starts to perceive time differently. It's sort of that like bullet effect, that bullet time from the Matrix, right? And so it's not necessarily a thing that we can do on command. It seems to be like maybe adrenaline fueled or something to this effect, right? Where if something traumatic is happening, the world around you seems to slow down. And so what does that mean? Does that mean that we actually have the ability to time travel at will and also slow down our reality to bullet time, very much like the Matrix? And that becomes like a really wacky question there, because if so, it opens up a whole lot of other things. Or let's say we only have so much juice in us, let's say adrenaline in this case, or whatever magic thing, elixir, makes this bullet time happen, that maybe, just maybe, that we only have a finite amount of this time travel in us. Who knows? And that's the question, right? We can't really determine this because we don't exactly know how this works specifically, but there we go. Robert shared the Emerald tablets. I'm going to drop this in the thing if you want to check that out. Tablet 13. Thank you. I appreciate that, Robert. I'll drop this over for the Fringe folks as well on Discord. What's up? What's up? Shout out to Catalina over there. Great thoughts on the Discord. Always good stuff. Appreciate you listening. Appreciate all the amazing stuff you're dropping over there. I'm reading all of it. So look, this is the thing. I don't know. So psychological time is that, meaning that we're able to experience time sort of in a nonlinear fashion through our perceptions, okay? And they say, right, as you get older, time seems to speed up because, you remember when you were young and you were sitting in a car and you're driving somewhere and it was only 20 minutes or something to get from here to there, but it seemed like an eternity because you wanted something to happen and you're just waiting and waiting and waiting and are we there yet, right? Are we there yet? Are we there yet? Are we there yet? Well, that right there is psychological time. Well, there's this other thing called, of course, cosmological time. And again, all these links are in the description down below if you want to read about this stuff. And this is how we define these things because, again, we do not know. We just don't know. If we knew the secrets of time, we wouldn't be speculating or even slicing them up. We'd just be like, this is what time is. This is how you break the cycle of a time and step outside of it. But we don't know. I wish we knew. So let's go to this. This is from ScienceDirect, and this is written by Zhao Magiho. Oh boy, I'm terrible with these pronunciations. That's all right. The link is in the description. It's called Cosmological Time and the Constants of Nature. Now, this in particular is not that psychological time. This is sort of time as nature needs it and perceives it and uses it to do its thing, right? So let's read a little bit of this. We propose that cosmological time is effectively the conjugate of the constants of nature. Different definitions of time arise, with the most relevant related to the constant controlling the dynamics in the epoch. The Hamiltonian constraint then becomes a Schrödinger equation. In the connection representation, it is solved by monochromatic plane waves moving in a space generalizing the Kern-Simons functional. This is way over my head. Normalizable superpositions exist, and for factorizable coherent states, we recover the classical limit in a seamless handover between potentially disparate times. There is also a rich structure of alternate states, including entangled constants, opening up the doors to new phenomenology. You had me at new phenomenology. Which means what? Which means that it means that a lot of this can actually be let's say part of us, but not part of us at the same time. All of this could exist again. We perceive it as such, but then it also operates outside of us. For instance, right? Lots of people have passed away and moved on, right? Like ancestors from thousands of years ago. Well, does time stop because they've moved on? Of course not. It marches on without them, without their conscious thought, without their meat suit here on Earth. So consciousness is only part of this and how we perceive it. But this idea of cosmological time in these grand sequences, which in some cases, interestingly, would be called, let's say, the Aztecs and their calendar, right? Or sorry, the Mayans and their long Baktun calendar, these huge cycles of 26 or 28,000 years or whatever it was. I see their epoch. One sec. So I don't know. So the question is, right? How do we, again, our relationship with time as humans is complicated. But as we can see in some of the examples that we cited tonight, and some we don't need to cite them. You've experienced some of these, where again, like Ronald made the joke, time travels faster on the weekends, which it's like, hey, your leisure time, it just burns, right? You're like, damn, I wish I had more of this. But then you go to work and you're like drumming your fingers on the desk, waiting for 5 o'clock to come, right? The time moves the same. We experience it quite differently. So what's going on with this? Is it possible to manipulate time, not just from the sensory perspective, but the perspective of, well, maybe something a little more complicated? 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. Let's go to APOC in Oklahoma. How are you feeling? What in the world is going on with you? Damn it, APOC.
I know. 2 freaking days of hell, but Yeah, it's been fun.
You sound fine though. You're laughing. That's
yeah,
good.
Yeah, I'm good. Well, I always kind of keep my spirits up, but yeah, it's good. I'm alive, and that's good. But yeah, I was taking some antibiotics and had a weird reaction to it, and they kept me in the hospital all day. So, but I'm on different ones, and it should work, and so it's resolved.
Right on.
But
Crossing all my fingers and toes for you.
yeah. Time. What part of it do you want to talk about? Exactly.
Whatever part you think is most pertinent, you tell me.
Well, okay, you're talking about looking into the past, the future, and sort of stepping outside of your current perspective to look up or down, in either direction. In remote viewing, they have a process for that. And actually, Bailey could probably tell you more about how the perception is in relationship to that process. But, you can theoretically take yourself consciously, cognitively, while still being in your body conscious and cognitive, into a position on your timeline or another timeline, and be able to literally see what's going on and potentially communicate with whatever you're you're seeing as well. And I think it has to do with, it sounds cheesy and metaphysical, but with frequency, because we resonate at certain frequencies. Everything has a different density. Everything has a different sort of gradient of density. And so if you take that and you put it into the mix, and you understand that the density or the frequency of your thoughts actually has a detectable frequency, and of course so does your body, and so does your energetic body, whatever you want to call that. They all have different frequencies. And so there should be a way to tune into a frequency that is aligned potentially with a future or past self, or with the future or past in whatever respect.
Should be, right? I hope so, right? but how about this? Do you think we're ever going to unlock this? Do you think we're ever going to be able to just be like, well, I'm going to just go back a few thousand years and fix some things, and I'll be back in a minute type stuff?
I think people have actually already. I think we, with that remote viewing thing and some other techniques, that people have talked about being able to do. I think we've been able to do that. I think that one thing comes into play in respect to there being a problem, and that's that they, if you don't already know the frequency that you're tuning to, it might be a challenge to get there, right? So if you're maybe tuning into yourself when you were 12 years old, you might be able to do that because you have sort of a frequency. I think it has a lot to do with emotions, with your emotional state, actually.
Okay, and meaning that so you can't control it by controlling your emotions, or is it like the Hulk and the superpowers? When you get pissed off, you something like this? How might this work?
By tuning into a particular like by tuning into a particular combination of how you have a segment of time in your life where it feels a particular way, and you just sort of have that memory of that timeline via the emotional state that you had within that. I think that that's an important factor. I think that we have combinations of emotions that are charged or created by anchors in our life that are emotionally charged, and so you can combine a great deal of emotional complexities, right? And I think that those complexities are very particular frequencies. And so if you have these frequencies that stay within that, timeline, that stay within that spectrum of where you were at that time, or even where you will be, because if we do have that part of ourselves that is outside of time, I believe that we do, I believe that we're connected to that, then yes, you have that ability to to look back on your timeline and therefore be able to resonate to potentially a a a feeling, a frequency, a tuning, a combination, in your future as well. I think it has a lot to do with it. I've had a personal experience. Do you want to hear about a personal experience?
Yeah, definitely. What you got?
Okay. So I was at a job. I might have told this story before, but I was at a job and had someone come in, and she was just, regular person. She came in, sat down across from me with a couple other people and started talking. And of course, I said hi to her on her way in. She was brand new to the job, never met her before. And when she started talking to somebody, I literally I started getting these words and these thoughts, and I'm going, this is weird. And at first I'm kind of thinking it's a deja vu, because in a deja vu you kind of know what somebody's going to say, but then I realized that I'm hearing everything that this person is thinking before she says it, the thoughts that she dismisses, the thoughts that she decides to say out loud, and all of these things. This happens all day long, and I only spoke with her maybe twice. And it kind of blew my mind, and that's when I went down to Walden Books, dating myself, I think maybe. I went down to Walden Books and started looking for this way to do this, to sort of tune into somebody's thoughts. And I find when I'm out there this book on quantum physics, and that's what got me hooked on quantum physics. Actually, that's what got me into that realm. But the thing is, our thoughts, our emotions, our whatever it is that we tune into are accessible in some way or another. It's just, yes, we need to kind of figure out how that works. And I think it's all connected. I think it's all connected to being able to see through the ether, I guess, being able to see through the distance. And I think that sometimes those moments, really happen for a reason. And I did become super fascinated with time, super fascinated with all the unseen stuff. And it got me into quantum physics. So it's kind of an example of what I think we're capable of, and I think that we can tune that and work with it.
I hope so. I do love how all the ideas sort of come together, and that story is amazing. With so almost like you were sort of entangled, like sort of quantum entanglement with your thoughts and the individual that was speaking. That is absolutely wild. Where you're picking up exactly what's about to come out of her mouth before she even says it.
Right.
What in the world?
Right, and there's more to it, actually, and I almost forgot to tell this part of the story. When I got home, because I didn't find a book on like a step-by-step how-to of how to be psychic, which is what I was looking for. Because I'm like, if it happens, then somebody has to have written it down, right? Somebody has to know exactly how to do this, right? And no, but I actually went home and I did a meditation. And it was a visual meditation, and I imagined this, or what came to me was this like thread spinning, and it was going out my, I guess they call it the third eye, right, the center of my forehead, and into the center of the tip of the top of my head. So it reached out about 18 inches and it spun. And what it felt like, what it actually really, what I picked up from it is that it was a frequency. It was like a resonance. It was a tuning fork, so to speak. It was like a radio dial.
We're out of time. Hold that thought. Tuning fork, radio dial. We'll be right back with APOC. If you're listening to us on the Fringe FM, stay tuned for Joe Roop Lighting the Void. If you're listening to us on any other platform, stay tuned for some bonus time of Troubled Minds. And as it ends, it goes exactly like this. Be sure, be strong, be true. Thank you for listening. From our troubled minds to yours, have a great night. Thank you for your patience. Go right ahead, APOC. So tuning fork, radio dial. So it's more like a frequency, something like this you're describing that we could tune into, right? Something to that effect?
Yes, and what I got when my impression from this visual was that was just a tiny piece of the spectrum, that was just a little tiny thing. And let's say you could imagine shining a little laser light on it, or maybe the point of your forehead was the little tuning area or whatever. And that point that you were focused on was the skill set, was the tuning, the frequency for whatever that was. And it came about in respect to the feeling that I had when this was happening with this girl. And so if I could tune into that feeling, I could tune into the frequency. And what the impression that I got is that there were like thousands and maybe even hundreds of thousands of potential possibilities of things that we could tune into. Like, you're thinking about the normal stuff, quote unquote, normal stuff like telekinetics and like this, the stuff that we hear about, like the power of flight, whatever. But it seemed as if this thread held all of these frequencies, all of these combinations to this like ability. And so I actually would go out with my boyfriend at the time. We would go to Denny's or some, we'd stay out all night, of course, nocturnal people, and we would write poetry and do this. And so I would actually tune into somebody across the restaurant, and I'd pick up on what they were doing. And we would both go over there and I'd start a conversation with them, and we'd get the stuff validated. We'd get it verified. And I'd just act maybe like I used to know them, or I knew somebody that they knew, and I'd kind of play it off. But all of it got verified until one point, and I guess this is the plateau of the of the thing, because at one point, this older couple with a with a child, a baby, came in. And I thought, well, that's kind of odd. They're older. They don't seem like they would have this little baby. And so I was curious, and I did it with them. And what I got was that they were coming from New York, going to Texas, and that the mother of the child actually didn't know where her child was. And so here's my, well, I guess I'll follow through with that. So when they left, what we did, and I did not approach them because I had no idea what was going on other than those pieces that I got. And and we sat there and we waited to see if we could look at their license plate. And as they pulled out, the license plate became visible. Sure enough, they were from New York. And I'm like, holy crap. This is, third hour, right? Holy shit. And so I was like, this is complicated. This is a little bit scary, because if you know something, you kind of, at least I felt like it might have given me a responsibility of duty, a duty of care of some sort, because I had these pieces of information, but I could not know if maybe they were saving this child or maybe they were abducting this child for no good reason. I had no idea those pieces of it because I only got what I got. I only got whatever they were thinking about while they were sitting at the table, and I was doing the thing. So I decided just from that point on not to do it again. And I mean, I got really good at it. So it is something that you can get good at. But in respect to this kind of thing, I think, at least for me, there was this concern of responsibility. It's like, do I do something about this? Is this now my responsibility because I know something that could potentially be, something I could actually affect somehow? I had no idea. So it was like this, uh, this thing that I felt the need to shut off, But going back to the thread, I think that we have it within us to do the tuning. I think that we can do this. I think we can do it with many things. I think that for me, it was spontaneous in respect to how I sort of figured out that it was possible and that I could do it. But it also linked my knowledge base to the potential that, yes, it's connected to our emotional constructs. It's connected to an emotional feedback, that the resonance, the frequency, the tuning is actually seems to be connected to this combination of emotions that creates a very particular frequency. And I think in some like conspiracy theories and stuff like that, there's there are projects where people say that they can actually know who you are by the frequency that they pick up on, because each one is unique. Each person's frequency is unique. And also in the Montauk experiment, they used emotional context to, if that's really a valid project. But the people who have come out about it have said that they used emotional context to create that wormhole, so to speak, into space-time in order to go through and to the future in different, tunnels that they were going through.
Yeah, so you intentionally shut this off. Is it something that you need to practice to kind of get back into, or have you tried since then at all? Is it one of those things that can come and go, or?
To me, it wasn't like riding a bike, because if I'll put it this way, I forgot the feeling, right? I didn't hold on to the feeling. I didn't reconnect with that feeling. And I have not tried to pick up the feeling again, but in respect to it being easy to pick up again, I don't think it would be easy. I think I might have to have another one of those experiences to sort of remind me of what that feeling is to resonate with the tuning again. So I think that that's one thing that's almost vital when it comes to the context that Night Stalker brought up, was the synchronicities. Because the synchronicities have a feeling, they have a connection, they have like this feeling of communicating sort of with yourself, or communicating with the universe or whatever. And anything odd, unique, interesting that happens that has a particular feeling, I think that we can use that to do these things. I think that we can pick up, and I think that synchronicities are almost like one of those portals to things like this, because they do come with a lot of varying and sort of deep and resonant feelings of awe and sort of wonder and different things that almost kind of sometimes feel familiar, and so maybe through synchronicities and maybe through these really unique things that happen in our lives, we may be able to develop certain things and to see where that could take us.
Yeah, fascinating, all of this. So it's almost like the radio got detuned, and so for you to sort of be able to pick this back up again, it's going to take some doing. But you have it in you, which is unbelievable to me. One of those fantastic things where people describe these sort of, right? I don't mean unbelievable in the sense like I don't believe you. I mean unbelievable that people out there have these type of abilities, right? It's not the first time I've heard this, not from you specifically, but from other people as well, that describe these type of sort of intuitive, like, I guess you could call them powers. But is it? I mean, is it something you think we can all sort of tap into, whatever that happens to be, that like you describe it as maybe a wormhole? Something anybody can learn, or do you think it's something else?
No, I think I think anybody can do this. I do. As long, see, I think that it takes a certain position in your perspective, though, to do it. I think you do need to be open-minded. I think you do need to be receptive and open to things like that. I think that our psychology just simply decides to turn it off. You know, our belief systems, if we have like heavy belief systems, I think that they can turn them off. You know, I think that that any resistance or like hesitation to have the experience is going to be either make it very, very, very difficult or just prevent it from happening altogether. I think that we all have it, though. I think that we need to look into not only our potential abilities, but the psychology that we need to get to go there. Because if we lock stuff down, we aren't really open, are we? You know, if we put ourselves in a position to have resistance or these ideas that are sort of locked in to this kind of reality, in a way, to this kind of reactive, sort of primal, animal, physical place. I think that even though you know, those things are important to survive and those things are important to experience, I think that if we can feel those, get through those, and get to the other side of those, then we can create a position of vulnerability, a position of openness, of sincerity, of authenticity. And I think the more that we can be in that state of authenticity, of sincerity, and self-awareness, because that's where that kind of comes in, really. I think that, you know, self-awareness and cognitive understanding. I think that once we get there personally, then it's going to be much easier for us to do that. And I think that when we were born, actually, we had this. And I think that that's what we're born to be able to do. And I think that it's through all the entrainment and education, quote unquote, and all this other stuff that, and social BS that locks us out of being able to, quote unquote, naturally have these experiences.
Yeah. Hey, fantastic stuff. So it's out there. We just need to be able to keep searching and maybe be able to lock into this, and maybe someday that future is there. And you know, like in the old days, you would roll your eyes and go, not you, but people would, and they still do, and go, come on, now people can't do these things. This is fake. But then now, like when we start getting into the quantum world and this stuff like entanglement, right? They're literally going to be able to do that spooky action at a distance scientifically. So if this is the case, and we can have been sort of commingling consciousness through this entanglement process, all of this tracks. All of this actually tracks in terms of what may come to pass. And here's a great thought from Robert on Rockfin before I let you go. He said, "Deja vu is an example of remembering the future."
Yeah.
The plot thickens, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, indeed.
And entanglement, you're talking about entanglement, and that's part, I think that is literally an entangled part of this whole scenario, is that we look at quantum physics, we look at what they've discovered with entanglement and the symmetry and the connection that that things can have and that people can have and that all atoms and all of these things can have, and it's phenomenal because it's really saying that the nature of the universe is a great deal more interesting than we ever thought it was.
Indeed. APOC, do me a favor and get your rest and heal up. We need you. We need you in this. I appreciate it very much. Thanks for dipping in. Thanks for sharing your thoughts on this amazing story and giving us some hope for what may come to pass for all of us. And APOC here, a good friend of mine, good friend of the show. She's got a podcast called Apocalypse Tau, and the link is in the description down below. She's got a link tree, a TikTok, all the places, all the things. Please follow her YouTube channel, right? I think you got a YouTube, no?
Mm-hmm.
All that. Whatever it is, I followed it a long time ago. So don't mind me. But if you haven't followed it, you should. Scroll down, please. It says follow APOC here. Click the thing. Do all the things, all the thumbs ups and all the follows, and I appreciate it very much. Thanks for sharing. Thanks for popping in. And heal quickly. Okay. Heal quickly. You sound fantastic for having such a rough 48 hours. so thanks for popping in.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
You're the best. Have a great one. 702-957-1037. Again, let's give us some good frequencies and vibrations and all the rest of that. Whatever you believe, prayers if you believe that to our friend APOC for a quick healing. She had a rough 48 hours. So what we're doing is this is just a little bit of bonus time. We're still talking about this idea of time and being able to flip that script and the arrow of time. Is it all this stuff possible, right? Is consciousness a way to tap into or maybe tune into this like a radio frequency like APOC was describing? What do you believe? 702-957-1037. Let's go to Jack in Oregon. What's up, my friend? You're on Troubled Minds. Long time no talk. Go right ahead.
Yeah. Hey, Mike. How you doing?
I'm doing good, man. How about you?
Well. Touched on one of my favorite topics once again, and I just couldn't resist. And the previous callers were so great. I mean, when I listen to you, I get quite a bit of delay, so I'm like half hour behind. But anyways, the odd thing is that whenever I listen to your show, or a lot of times when I listen to your show, it'll be on topic with what I was thinking about earlier in the day. How weird is that, huh?
That's pretty weird. Yeah. So what are you telling me you're feeding me the information and I'm picking it up through entanglement? What's going on here? Get out of my brain, Jack. Just kidding.
No. That's beyond me. Okay. But I'll tell you about this morning. Okay.
Sure.
This morning I woke up and it takes me about an hour to get ready to go to work. And I was watching YouTube and it fed me this one thing and I clicked on it and it was the Primrose. Robert Primrose or something like that. They introduced him as the guy that was the inspiration for the professor for Back to the Future.
Okay, it's ringing a bell. It's ringing a very vague bell, but I cannot remember specifics here. So you're gonna have to carry this one.
All right, I'll elaborate. So, anyways, his main thing is that. Just our regular computers and stuff are down to the nanometer scale now. Like, and this is something that I was getting into too, like 7 nanometers on your AMD chip, right? It's pretty small. And he was saying that if you go just a little bit further than that, you'll be pretty close to what the brain can do. And then so what you got is this consciousness, but it doesn't have any ability to soak up the world because it's just a machine and not a person. That was what he was talking about.
Okay.
Yeah, it kind of blew my mind. And then, so later in the day, you're talking about this, so I thought I'd call in.
Nice. Hey, so sometimes great minds, right? Great minds think alike. Yeah, I don't know. I think it's weird how, like, I pay attention to the zeitgeist a little bit, that these news cycles and whatnot, and things seem to start kind of piling up on each other, and it's weird. And I start to notice it, and I wonder if, like, the algorithm is tricking me, or if I'm actually noticing these things sort of organically. I don't know, but you do definitely see some patterns in sort of the thought process of what's happening out there in that zeitgeist. Maybe we're tuned into that on that frequency. Who knows? So regarding this whole time slice stuff, do you think it's possible to actually maybe reverse this, or step outside of our time slice we're locked into? Do you think any of that's possible, or is it just being goofball to even bring it up?
Well, depends on what level you're talking about. You know, I've been working on my theory of boxes for quite a while, and that would be the limit, right? Where the edge of the wall is, or so you can only go so far. But yeah, sometimes I have to wonder if, like, you're just one person and your dog and your wife or whatever, or you got like several layers of building underneath your bunker there. You know, helpers. You're amazing, Mike.
Oh, thank you. That's very nice. Yeah, I don't know, man. Like I said, if once I figure this stuff out, I'm going to be the first to share it, because I'm going to be like, holy crap, guys, you'll never believe what I did, right? And I'll tell if I can do it, I'll tell you how I did it. But I mean, that's the thing. I think that's sharing the ideas. I think considering things like this possible, it's got to be the first step, right? Because if you don't think it's possible, you can't achieve it. Right? You're sort of creating your own mental block in some of these instances. And I don't know. I don't know if I think, we can do super powerful stuff with our brains. Maybe we can. But if you don't believe it, it certainly ain't going to happen, right?
Well, I personally believe that most people are good, and that we're all kind of connected, especially now these days.
Yeah, well, at least many of us are trying. How about that? I think that's a good way to put it. Great stuff as always, Jack. What else you got for us tonight?
Just rock on. You've been really hitting it out of the ballpark here lately.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you, as always, for listening. Thanks for chiming in, and when you got something to add, I appreciate it very much, and I look forward to your next call, my friend.
Good stuff. See ya.
Thanks a lot. Have a great night. There you go. Jack in Oregon, been calling in for quite a while now, and he'll surprise us now and then with some gold nuggets, and he's got some tonight. So thank you for that. Real quick shout out to Robert over on the Rockfin. Thank you for the generous tip. I appreciate that very much. He says this. Yes, congratulations to Michael Strange for Troubled Minds' 1 year anniversary on Rockfin. 1 year. 1 year. Well, you want to know how much growth you can get on Rockfin in 1 year if you just keep smacking doubles into the gap, or blooping singles, and every once in a while hitting a home run, like Jack says, hitting it out of the park. Hey, once in a while you got to hit it out of the park, right? You keep swinging. You miss all the shots you don't take, right? Well, check it out. In 1 year on Rockfin, we started with 39 followers because, of course, we made the account, didn't do anything with it for several months. But then, once we got approved to actually create content on Rockfin, in exactly 1 year to the day, 3,546 followers on Rockfin. So thank you, Robert, for keeping track of that. Thank you for the amazing tip there, and thank you for chiming in tonight and letting us know that you're still out there. You're still out there, and you're still listening, and you're still contributing and giving us great ideas. I appreciate it very much. But yeah, right. This is one of the weird ones. Like Robert said, there's been some dark times for troubled minds for myself that, not in terms of like some sort of existential crisis, right? But what do we do with the show? It's, you can't continue to grind hours and hours and hours every day on this if it's never going to get anywhere. But then suddenly, like, you snap your fingers and suddenly everything starts to come into focus. It's super weird. But yeah, I don't know. So I think everything is sort of lined up and pointing in a particular direction. And that particular direction is that we're gaining some traction, folks. You and me, us. I'm me, you're you, and together we're us. And I really mean that. And I can't can't thank each and every one of you enough for being part of this, with all the amazing chat, all the amazing ideas, all the amazing inspiration on a nightly basis, and all the amazing phone calls. You do make my world go round, and I appreciate it very much. So I want to say thank you. 1 year anniversary on Rockfan. Thank you to Robert again for keeping track of that, for the amazing tip over there. And hey, look, sometimes you have a dream, and sometimes you flounder on the way, but sometimes that dream is achieved. And meeting all you amazing people has been the fulfillment of that dream. So thank you for that. And let's do it. Let's GTFO. I think we're all clear on everybody else. Unless you got anything to add, APOC, while we got you in there still?
I do want to say that I feel the same way about everyone here. I think that we're all a family, and it's really amazing that everything is synced up in the way that it has. That's it.
Amen. Amen to that. I appreciate it very much. All right, so I fibbed. We're going to do one more quick call. Please give APOC a follow. Links in the description. Thank you for that, APOC. And let's go to Dino in Florida, and then we'll wrap this up. Dino, you're on Troubled Minds. Go right ahead, my friend. How are you tonight?
I'm doing good. How you doing, Mike?
Okay. No complaints out of me. What do you think? Time travel or nah?
That's pretty wild. The last time I was on your show, I thought, I was like, man, if Michael Strange would do a segment on time travel, that'd be pretty cool. And I get on tonight, and you did it, and I was like, no way. I have just a little bit of information on it because I studied it like while back. A lot of people kind of get confused on time travel because of the fact that you got to think time travel is you're traveling through space, and space does not move. Everything in space does move. And I don't know, I missed the first hour of your segment, and I don't know if I'm repeating something that someone else talked about, but most people think if you made a time machine and you put it on top of Eiffel Tower and you travel back into the 1940s, that you will remain on the Eiffel Tower in the 1940s. But really what happens is that our planet kind of moves 67,000 miles per hour around the sun. And then our solar system is the size of the galaxy that moves 1.3 million miles per hour upwards. So if we put a time machine at the edge of our planet in the time of space, like where, I would say Florida, where I'm at, right? And I wanted to go back to 1930 in this point of space, you know, our galaxy would probably be 67,000 light years over there. So you'll probably be suspended in space. That's why they needed a second formula to travel in space. You needed the formula of when you go back into the past, you need to look to the future of the past to know where was the galaxy at. Because, you know, everything inside space is moving, and space does not move. And if you travel through time, you're traveling through time in a point of space.
Yeah,
you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I get exactly what you're saying. Interestingly, you know who tweeted something similar recently was Georgios Tsoukalos of ancient astronaut fame, Ancient Aliens, the guy with the big hair. So he tweeted, this was several weeks back, maybe a month ago or so, but he tweeted almost exactly what you said there, that you can't just, if you had a time machine, you can't just hop in it and go back in time, because there's the space momentum factor as well, right? So you like if you wanted to go to ancient Egypt, you couldn't just hop into it. You would have to set up the time machine to be in a particular spot where, if right, like in that time sync of 10,000 years ago, or wherever you wanted to go see, you would appear there, right? So again, meaning that everything's in motion. And if you cannot also traverse space as well as time, you'll end up in space. In space. I don't know. Wild stuff.
Right,
Great point.
And another thing is, some scholars say if you did find a way to make a time travel machine, they say it would be really risky to even try to travel into the future. That being said, because of the fact that the future never happened, meaning that if you did travel into the future, just per se, is that you'll probably be in what you call the black void. I mean, there's no dark matter, there's no elements, there's not even a God particle, nothing. It's just a black void because it never happened. So you would probably waste your time machine to go to a place that ain't even there yet, because the imagination, the slit experiment, the conscious of the mind, nothing is created at that point. You know what I'm saying? So some people say it would be better to travel into the past than take the risk to travel into the future. Yeah,
I'm with you there. So how do you view it? Do you think that the future is already created and we're just traveling to it? Or do you think, like Yoda says, that, the future is always in motion and it's difficult to see? To add that, Robert said that deja vu is us remembering slices of the future. So what do you think? What do you think regarding the future and time as a flat circle and that type of stuff?
I take it 50-50 because if you looked at time and relativity, there were so many subjects in time and relativity that, like Einstein says, if you turned your head and yelled in a direction, you took a slice out of space and slice out of time. And in that time and space, there's a ripple. And within this ripple, the top of the ripple is the future, the bottom of the ripple is the past. And you altered the future in the past through this line into space. And this line can go through galaxies, planets, and suns, and black holes, and you name it. But the conscious level, I think the best time travel is someone sitting there meditating and then think about something in the past. That is the most logical time travel because you always go into the past and you're there. That's why some people say you get stuck in the past. And then some people can get stuck in other people's passes. They can never let a grudge go on something that happened in the past with someone else. So that's another thing. But going to the future, I think I've done it a couple of times in my mind, deja vu. So I am 50-50 that, yes, you are kind of sort of looking into the future. But that being said, who's not saying that you created it with your conscience? You made it happen. You know what I'm saying? Like you made that situation happen with your conscience level. I mean, some people are strong enough to do that with deja vu.
Yeah. You know what's wild too? I was just thinking about it. So if that's possible and it's your sort of consciousness extrapolating a future, maybe your future, have you ever heard of this? This is something to look into. I think I need to look into in the future, but see what I did there. But what about the idea of, let's say, what is it? Deja vu, but as a group. Have you ever heard of an experience where like 5 people or something experience deja vu in the same moment together? That's pretty wild. Never thought of it, but maybe we should look into that.
Oh, yes. I kind of did look into this, and they looked at this into the past. It's the conscious collective thoughts of a big group of people. And I think they did that with a bunch of monkeys in that one country. Remember, I was like, they gave them like that potato, and then one monkey sat there, like they would just eat it off the ground, and that one monkey washed it off in the lake and then ate it. And then the monkey started doing that. But, collectively thought from these monkeys doing this, monkeys in another country, I could be saying this story wrong, started doing it. But it was a collective thought, a conscious collective. It was a group of monkeys doing it. It just, it traveled to another country, and then they started doing it. So I think I told that story a little bit wrong, but yeah, a collective thoughts to a group is very powerful and can make things happen. Yes.
Right on. Okay. So many things are possible, let's say, and many of them we don't quite understand just yet. You're the best, Dino. What else you got for us tonight?
That is it, Mike.
I appreciate it very much. Thank you for listening. Thanks for all the amazing thoughts, and you're welcome back anytime. You know where to find me, okay?
Oh, wait, Mike.
Yeah.
How can I talk to you? Because I got a microphone. I don't, I'm probably, is there a way to get on your show without a phone?
Yeah. Wait, what do you mean? Explain.
Well, I have a microphone and a computer, and I've always wanted to use it.
Oh, sure. Yeah, sure. Is it a USB mic?
Yeah. It's plugged into the computer right now, and I thought you were on Discord. I kept trying to find you, and I couldn't find you, so I just asked you personally.
Yeah, I tell you what, hit me up. Send me an email at troubledmindsradio@gmail. Give me a picture of your microphone, and let me know what kind of computer you had, PC or Mac?
PC.
Okay, yeah. Send me just a quick list of the equipment you have, and if you need something additional, I will let you know what you need. But yeah, if it's a USB mic, you can plug it directly in to the computer. If it's not, if it's like an old school like 3.5-inch audio thing, you need a what's known as an audio interface. So send me what you got, and I'll give you the quick blurb on what you need to do that. Okay.
Hey, cool. Thank you, Mike.
Hey, pleasure's mine. Thanks for being you, and thanks for giving us a call and sharing your amazing thoughts, brother. Have a fantastic night.
All right, you too. Bye.
Thanks a lot. There you go. Easy as that. Easy as that. Yep. What's up, Jen has arrived. Everybody waiting hours for the Jennifer call, but we'll get to that next time. How about? I appreciate it very much. Thanks for popping in and saying hi. Let's get out of here. Let's do it. I got some ice cream to get. Yeah. Well, as you guys know, I don't actually eat ice cream, but Mrs. Strange does, and so so there you go. Hey, Bobby. Hey, settle down. Well, we're gonna actually got a show planned with Jennifer coming up soon. No date yet, so we'll have our fill of Jennifer coming up. Thanks for popping in, Jen. Let me know when you want to do that show. She's got a great idea there that we will talk about in the near future. So as we finish, look, there's a whole lot to this. Again, being a troubled mind is wearing lots of hats, and sometimes you got to wear the hat that actually has the Troubled Mind logo on it. And there we go. So if you want to help the show, there are a number of ways to do it. Number one, thank you again to Robert for the amazing tip over there. Thanks for him sending the amazing email that got us on Rockfin. 1 year on Rockfin, 3,500 plus followers. To the future. Cheers to that. Cheers to just kicking ass and making sure that, hey, one day at a time, time and pressure. Troubled minds converge. May not be about the answers, but it's certainly about something. So there it goes. The Bosnian Balls show. There we go. All right. So, yeah, I don't know about that. But okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to finish. And as we finish, if you want to help the show, there are a number of ways, right? You can actually help the show by subbing up in this order. If your preference is all the same in this order as my preference. Rockfin, Patreon, Twitch. All right? Twitch takes 45%, and that's brutal, but that's why I put them last. But it's still legitimate. If you can sub up to Twitch. If you have Amazon Prime, it's included. You just got to link your two accounts together, your Twitch account and your Prime account, and you could sub up, and it kicks $2.49 my way each month. So there are ways to do this without even spending any more money. If you don't want to spend money, or you're like, no thanks, I'm not into that, or don't have money to spend, I get it. There are a number of ways you can help. Again, listen, just spread the word, right? Number one, the most important thing is always you spending your time and energy with us. I appreciate that very much. But also spread the word. Old school word of mouth beats the algorithms. We still got word of mouth, guys. We still talk to each other. We still have friends out there, family out there that might really, really love this show. Just let them know. It's the conversations going on that's not political, that talks about amazing things, and that's what we do on a nightly basis. And the final way, of course, is listen to the podcast feed. We have over 380,000 downloads. 380,000 downloads on the podcast feed, over 480 episodes, and it's a little bit commercial interruption in there, minimal commercial interruption, but it's monetized. Listen to the podcast feed over the weekend. It all helps. Kicks a couple cents this way, and all of that adds up. So thank you so much for being part of this, and thanks for being you. As we finish, it goes exactly like this. What's up, Bobby says, freaking none of my friends are into this. Well, they should be. They should be, damn it. It goes like this. Be sure, be strong, be true. Thank you for listening. From our troubled minds to yours, have a great night.